Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be showing off the new Gem Knight FTK. This is pretty broken considering your opponent's supposed to have a monster to actually use this card, but you can give your opponent a monster with Blackguard. This card probably should be banned because it's really only utilized in multiple different FTKs, but now Gem Knights are going to be able to consistently pull this off. We have multiple combos to show you guys with this video, but if you guys are excited about, I guess, Gem Knights coming back in the game, well, drop a like in this video because, well, they can obviously come back, especially in Master Duel when you're playing in the best of one, when they eventually update the game with new cards. Yeah, the Gem Knights will be able to consistently pull this off. Now, what's even cooler with this, because your opponent happens to control a bunch of monsters, it actually locks him out out of potentially using certain cards because, well, they're going to actually have certain cards, and you're going to not be able to maybe use certain hand traps or be able to follow up because, well, it's an FTK. So the main thing that is able to actually pull this off is the Gem Knight, Knight Lady Lapis Lazuli over here. It doesn't really matter what you're playing against. This one happened to be Sword Soul, but Lapis Lazuli can actually do a lot of different work. Even if your opponent happens to be going first, this card does a massive amount of damage. So it has this effect of once per turn you get to send a Gem Knight monster from your main deck or extract to the graveyard, and if you do, you get to inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each special summon monster on the field, which includes both players, which I don't know. Maybe this card could be banned, but something needs to get changed with this new Scatter Fusion card. Now, before showing you guys it against an opponent, but I want to show you guys multiple different combos that are just 2 or 3 card combos. So keep in mind some of these cards can search out other cards, but for the most part, the main important thing is Black Garden plus Gem Knight Armadillo. This card will let you search out a Gem Knight monster, which is going to be the Quartz. Now, Quartz requires your opponent to actually have a monster. You discard it, and then you're able to set the Scatter Fusion. So I can actually explain the play now that you guys have seen the FTK. I'm going to try to explain this. So you get to set one instantly, and then you can only go for Gem Knights, but it doesn't really matter. And if it's used for a material into the graveyard, you get to add another Gem Knight monster. But for the most part, you Scatter Fusion, and then you can fusion summon one non-rock Gem Knight fusion monster from your extract using monsters from your deck as material. So that's obviously really, really good. So you activate this, you can use cards from your deck, you can send Rose and Vanilla Lapis. So basically, whatever you need to do for Seraph Knight gives you that additional normal summon / set. And then we're going to be able to get Black Garden's effect, giving our opponent another token. Then we can go into Gem Knight Phantom Quartz over here. For some of you guys that maybe even played on the Master Duel campaign, you might have a better idea on how this works now. So we're going to go ahead and get some free extra cards out. Remember, every single time that we summon, our opponent also gets a card. Lazuli is going to be activating its effect. Going to be adding back the Lapis. And then we activate Gem Knight Fusion, and then we go for Lady Lapis Lazuli. And then we're going to have a massive amount of tokens. The Gem Knight Fusion activated. We're going to pay another 1,000 life points and go for our Gem Knight Master Diamond. Now, Master Diamond has the effect where you can banish at level 7 or lower Gem Knight Fusion monster from your graveyard until the end phase. This card name becomes that monster's effect. So we're basically getting the effect multiple times. So now we're going to Black Garden, and now they're going to take that massive amount of damage from Lapis Lazuli over there, and then obviously you can copy the effect again, and then so you get the effects of it twice. That's basically how it works. So we showed you the Armadillo plus Black Garden combo, but you can also do this multiple different ways. You can also Black Garden, and then you can go for a Crystal Rose. Technically, there could be other summons depending on your hand over here, but you basically have to give your opponent a monster so they can actually have one for the Gem Knight Quartz to actually activate its effect. So this is kind of like the same combo essentially, but it starts off with different cards. That's why I'm saying that this deck is going to be very consistent. Again, specifically for game 1 duels in Master Duel, like if you beat them game 1, well, you'd win anyway. So there ain't no game 2. They're not going to be able to side deck. And so if people are arguing, oh, well, it's susceptible to hand traps, well, again, guys, you can use just 2 cards to combo. The other 3 cards can be cards like Called by the Grave or any other card that would stop your opponent's hand traps. So with this play, it's going to be, again, pretty much bread and butter. Most of these plays are kind of fast, so I'll let it kind of play out. But it's the same combo, but it just starts off with different combos. So that was the combo number 2. You can also use the Adamantimators to actually pull this off as well. So we see the Armadillo. And this time we don't have Black Garden at the start, but you will see Black Garden will eventually come out because the Adamantimator happens to be a tuner. We can actually synchro just in case we don't happen to open up with it. We can go for another researcher over here, and then we make the Garden Rose Maiden. Maiden. So Garden Rose Maiden is actually a pretty important card for the deck. You can actually use this card to add Black Garden, so it just searches it out. Obviously, Terraforming, you can play that as well. But just getting the access to Black Garden, and then you go for Cross Sheep, and then you go for the Seraph Knight, and then it's kind of the same combo, although you're going to be going for different cards again to actually give your opponent the tokens as far as the order goes. And then you eventually go for Phantom Quartz, and then you pay 1,000 life points. And then you get to fusion summon one. You get to add a Gem Knight card instantly. So that's obviously going to be for the Gem Knight fusion. Now, if you're playing in the OCG ban list, I don't know when Master Duel is getting its new update for the ban list, but if they happen to keep Brilliant Fusion, I believe Brilliant Fusion is still legal in the OCG. I actually don't know if I've seen anyone play at Master Duel, but nonetheless, if it still stays legal or is it's still at 1, this deck is actually even better. But now that you guys have seen it in action, I want to give you guys a brief little deck profile of this deck. But big shout outs to my homie Magus Lucius for hooking me up with the gameplay as well as the deck profile. So you do happen to play vanilla, so that's kind of normal with Gem Knights anyways. But the only other thing that's important to mention in this deck is pretty much that you can, if you want to play Call by the Grave, it would not be that bad of an idea. But for the most part, the main combo is going to be the Armadillo and Black Garden, and you can actually pull off your win condition. Heck, I run Triple Mallet, especially if you're playing Master Duel. That card is just way too good. But you could still, maybe if you wanted to try to splash in some more cards and kind of play it more normally. But here is the deck profile. Also include the one-click download via the Discord if you guys do want it. I'll just mouse over the cards really quick because I know some people may not be playing on YuGiOh Pro. But the specific new cards that are important to mention are the Gem Knight Quartz is the card where as long as your opponent controls a monster, you just discard it and then you get to set your Scatter Fusion immediately. The other newer card is actually Brilliant Rose, and I do want to explain this card really quick. So it's always treated as a Gem Knight card. You can discard one Gem Knight or Melodus, which we're not playing here, but you discard another Gem Knight, and then you get to special summon this card from your hand, and then you can only use effective at once per turn, but you get to send a Gem Knight or a Melodus monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, and this card's name, type, and attribute become the sent monster's original name, type, and attribute until the end phase. And then obviously with the Emancipator engine, you have access to going for your Garden Rose Maiden, so you play triple copies of these, and then on top of that, there are technically, what was it, if you control rock monster, you can special summon it, so you can technically go for, there's enough rocks to make it like viable. And then you can activate top 5, and if you do, you can special summon one of the activated level 4 or lower non-tuner rock monsters. So it has some RNG potentially with this card, but it's not obviously required for the combo, as you guys saw. Then we have Lazuli, and we have one of the Valor. So basically at this moment we're playing with 3 hand traps. You can play 2 types of Called, or if you are playing in the OCG, I'm pretty sure Brilliant is still legal in the OCG. Let me double check on this. So Brilliant Fusion is, well, we go to TCG, it's obviously banned, but if in the OCG you can play 1 copy of it, that's going to be like the only real difference here in terms of like the ban list. Actually in the OCG, do we have, yeah, okay, that's the only real change here for the TCG OCG. But obviously Master Duel is like, I think what's on everyone's mind, especially in a deck that can FTK, that's going to be something to look out for. And then obviously, yeah, Scatter Fusion, you get a fusion from your deck, pretty good stuff indeed. And then when this card loses the field, you do destroy the monster, but that doesn't really matter too much because it's an FTK. And then I'll mouse over the extra deck really quick for you guys. But that's going to pretty much wrap things up. Let me know what you think of it. I think this is pretty broken. They kind of messed up. I know their idea is that if their opponent controls a monster, that like you cannot just pull it off first turn, but it is kind of broken when you can FTK with this deck. But anyways, thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn on the bell so you don't miss out on more new YuGiOh videos, because I do have the Amazons. We got so many more gameplays to show for the new archetypes. But anyways, take care. I'll see you in the next video. I'm out. Peace.